Hello. If you've been with us, you already understand something profound about personal transformation, that it's not a single event, but a continuous process of becoming. We've talked about how our identity is not a stone, but a river, constantly flowing and shaping itself based on the tiny daily choices we make. The person you are today is the sum of every choice, every thought, every small action you've taken. But today, we're not just talking about the flow, we're talking about the moment the river breaks its banks. We're going to dive into the most powerful concept of all, the principle that turns a steady stream of effort into an unstoppable force. This is not about building momentum, it's about reaching the point where momentum itself becomes a new reality. We call it the inevitable breakthrough, the tiny action that changes everything. For most of our lives, we are taught to believe in the myth of the big leap. We are conditioned by a world that celebrates the highlight reel, not the quiet, unseen effort. We see the success stories of others and assume they happened overnight, the result of a single heroic act. We look at the Olympic marathon runner and assume their victory was a single flawless race. But we don't see the thousands of training miles, the blisters, the pre-dawn runs in the rain, the days they wanted to quit, but laced up their shoes anyway. This way of thinking is not just misleading, it's paralyzing. It makes us wait for a day that will never come. We postpone our progress, telling ourselves we'll start when we have more time, more money, or more energy. The truth is, the most successful people in the world are not masters of the big leap. They are masters of the tiny action. They understand that every action they take, no matter how small, is a vote for the person they are becoming. This is what we call identity-based habits. You're not just exercising, you're becoming a person who exercises. You're not just writing, you're becoming a writer. And when you change your identity, the breakthrough isn't just possible, it's inevitable. The breakthrough is not an accident of fate. It is the cumulative, inevitable result of a deliberate and often silent process. It is the destination you reach when your tiny actions build to a critical mass. To truly understand this, we must first change our perception of change itself. We often feel our lives are a flat, linear progression. We work hard today, and we expect an equal, visible reward tomorrow. When that reward doesn't appear, we get discouraged. This is what we call the illusion of stagnation. Imagine a sculptor working on a block of marble. They come every day with a small hammer and a tiny chisel. They chip away. For weeks, months, even years, the block of stone doesn't look like anything. To the casual observer, nothing is happening. It looks like a great deal of effort for no reward. But the sculptor knows something the observer doesn't. They know that with every single chip, the masterpiece is being revealed. Your life is no different. Every small action you take, every time you choose to read a single page, to do one push-up, to make one phone call, you are not just adding to a tally. You are chipping away at the old identity and revealing the masterpiece that was always inside. The stagnation is a lie. The progress is happening in the deep, unseen structures of your identity, below the surface, in the slow, grinding work of the sculptor. This can feel demoralizing, but it is precisely at this moment, when we feel most stuck, that we are closest to our breakthrough. Think of a bamboo tree. After being planted, you water it for 5 years and it looks like nothing is happening above ground. For 5 long years, all the growth is happening unseen in a vast and complex root system. Then, in the 6th year, the bamboo shoots up over 80 feet in just 6 weeks. The growth was not a sudden miracle. It was the inevitable result of 5 years of unseen effort. Your life is no different. You are building a root system. So how do you begin this process? It starts with what we call the 1-degree shift. Your life is a ship. You do not need a complete course correction or to turn your life upside down overnight. You only need a 1-degree shift, a single deliberate action that reorients your path. This action must be so small, so simple, that your brain doesn't have time to create a narrative of resistance around it. Think of it like a thermostat. Your default identity is set to a certain temperature, say 70 degrees. Whenever you try to make a big leap to suddenly change to 90 degrees, your inner thermostat immediately pulls you back down. But if you make a 1-degree shift from 70 to 71, your thermostat doesn't even notice. It's so effortless, it feels like cheating. Let's talk about a man named Alex, who wants to be a musician but is crippled by stage fright. He's paralyzed by the myth of the big leap. The breakthrough feels impossible, so he commits to a new approach. His 1-degree shift is a single, ridiculously small action. He will record a 10-second audio clip of himself playing one chord and save it to a private folder on his phone. That's it. It's so easy it feels like cheating. In the quiet of his room, he can hear the soft click of the pip on the strings, the warm resonance of the chord. There is no audience, no pressure, just the sound. It's so small, his brain can't even argue.
He is not trying to be a musician. He is simply doing a single private, sacredly inefficient act that a musician would do. This 1-degree shift works by engaging a powerful principle of the human mind, neuroplasticity. Every action you take is a tiny electrical signal that travels down a pathway in your brain. With every repetition, with every 1-degree shift, you are not just repeating an action, you are forging a new neural pathway. You are physically rewiring your brain. The breakthrough is the moment when the new neural pathway becomes so strong, so dominant, that the old habit simply fades away. The old neural pathways associated with his fear of performing begin to wither from disuse, making the new pathway of creation stronger with every simple act.
Alex then begins to practice habit stacking, a concept rooted in the Japanese principle of kaizen, or continuous improvement. After he records his 1-chord audio clip, he adds a second small action. He listens to one of his favorite songs and tries to identify a single chord progression. His third stack is to simply write down one line of a potential song lyric. Each of these actions is small, almost meaningless on its own. They are not about the destination, they are about the process. He is not trying to be a musician. He is simply practicing the sacred, inefficient act of a person who does music. For weeks, nothing seems to change. He still has stage fright. He still feels like an imposter. The illusion of stagnation is strong, but what he doesn't see is that he is building a new neural pathway. He is physically rewiring his brain to believe that he is the kind of person who makes music. The act of saving that single audio file is a vote for a new reality. And then, one day, the breakthrough happens. It doesn't come with a grand magical moment. It happens subtly, almost without notice. A friend texts him and asks if he wants to go to an open mic night. The old Alex would have felt a shot of pure dread, but this time, something is different. The thought doesn't fill him with terror. It fills him with a quiet curiosity. He finds himself saying, maybe it is a spontaneous, effortless decision. The breakthrough is the moment when the new mental highway, the one he has been painstakingly building with his small catalytic actions, is finally strong enough to carry the weight of a new choice. He shows up. He gets on stage. He still feels nervous. But his new identity as a person who does music is so much stronger than his old identity as a person who fears music, that the act of performance feels almost natural. The breakthrough was inevitable because he had been building it, one 10-second audio clip at a time. Life will test you and it will try to pull you back to the old path. After his first show, Alex's next performance goes terribly. He forgets his lyrics. His voice cracks and he stumbles off stage feeling utterly defeated. The old Alex would have quit forever. A voice in his head, the last gasp of his old identity, screams, "See? I told you so, you're a fraud." But this time something is different. He is no longer surprised by failure. He has internalized the truth that progress is not a straight line. The next morning he feels disappointed, but he doesn't feel shame. He remembers the philosophy of the graceful return. He doesn't try to make up for the bad show by practicing for hours. He simply opens his phone, records another 10-second clip and saves it. He returns to the most fundamental, ridiculous action. He proves to himself that his identity is not tied to a perfect performance. It is tied to the simple, non-negotiable act of showing up. He is no longer a prisoner of his feelings. The graceful return is the single most important habit you can cultivate. It is the act of refusing to practice shame. It is the act of forgiving yourself for being human and simply returning to your 1-degree shift. This is not about a perfect streak. It is about an unbroken commitment. It's about proving to yourself one graceful return at a time that your new identity is so solid, so resilient, that it can withstand the storms of life. This brings us to a crucial point about the illusion of stagnation. The period before the breakthrough can feel the most difficult and discouraging. This is where most people quit. They see the lack of visible progress and mistakenly conclude that their efforts are in vain. It's like heating a pot of water on a stove. The water goes from room temperature to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, then to 100. You've applied a tremendous amount of energy, and all you have to show for it is hotter water. The progress is there, but the phase change hasn't happened yet. And then, at 212 degrees, the water boils. It turns to steam. The change is dramatic, immediate, and visible. That final degree of heat, that final small action, is the one that causes the breakthrough. It's not about the magnitude of the action, but about the accumulated effort that precedes it. You are closer to your breakthrough than you think, precisely because you feel like nothing is happening. This is the truth that separates those who succeed from those who give up. So, how you navigate this period of unseen progress? You build a feedback loop of belief. Of every single 1-degree shift, no matter how small, creates a tiny win. Our brains are hardwired to seek rewards. When you successfully perform a small intentional action, your brain releases a hit of dopamine. That tiny feeling of accomplishment reinforces the behavior, making it more likely that you'll do it again. Each successful repetition strengthens your belief in your new identity. You are no longer just trying to be a writer. With every paragraph you write, you are collecting evidence that you are a writer. This is a virtuous cycle. The small action builds a small win, which reinforces a new belief, which makes the next small action easier, which leads to another win. This is how momentum is not just built, but sustained. The breakthrough becomes not just a possibility, but a certainty, and you don't have to do it alone. One of the most powerful tools in this journey is the power of an unlikely community. For centuries, we have been a tribal species. We are deeply influenced by the people around us. If you are surrounded by people who believe in the big leap, who are always waiting for the lightning bolt of inspiration, you will be constantly pulled back to their stagnant reality. To build a new identity, you must find a tribe that celebrates the daily chipping away. They are the people who understand the value of the 1-degree shift. They are the people who will celebrate you for reading a single page, for doing one push-up, for making a single phone call. They don't just celebrate the breakthrough. They celebrate the quiet, unseen effort that makes it inevitable. This community provides the social support and accountability that turns a solo journey into a shared mission. They become the fertile soil in which your habits can grow. The breakthrough is inevitable. It is not a matter of if, but when. Every single action you take is a vote for a new reality. Every time you choose to take the 1-degree shift, you are casting a vote for a new identity. And your brain, your mind, your very reality is counting those votes. The person you are destined to become is not a ghost. They are a quantum reality waiting to be collapsed into form. This is the law of compounding action. We often think of compounding in terms of money. A small investment left to grow can become a fortune over time. Your tiny actions, your 1-degree shifts, are not just adding up, they are multiplying. They are building on each other. One push-up today makes the second push-up easier tomorrow. One sentence written today makes the next sentence feel effortless. The breakthrough is the moment when the compounding becomes visible. It is the moment when the sapling that has been quietly growing roots for years suddenly shoots up into the sky. It is the moment when the 1-degree shifts create a new reality. The truth is, your breakthrough is already underway. The moment you take that first tiny action, you set in motion a chain reaction that cannot be stopped. So start small, be sacredly inefficient. Embrace the graceful return. Find your unlikely community and trust the process. The boiling point is just around the corner. The breakthrough is not something you hope for, it is something you build. It is the inevitable result of your consistent catalytic action. Go deeper. The graceful return is powerful because it is an act of self-compassion, but it also points to an even more fundamental truth. The most profound actions are often the most inefficient. We live in a world obsessed with efficiency. The shortest path, the fastest route, the quickest result. But what if the most powerful actions you can take are the ones that seem to have no immediate purpose? I call this the principle of catalytic inefficiency. Think of a potter. They don't just throw a lump of clay on a wheel and expect a perfect vase. They have to center the clay. They have to get their hands dirty. They have to spin the wheel for a seemingly long time just to get the clay to a stable, centered state. This act of centering is not about the final form of the vase. It is about building the foundation for everything else. It is a slow, inefficient, but absolutely catalytic step. Your morning meditation, your one push-up habit, the one page you read before bed, these are not about immediate results. They are about centering yourself. They are about the sacred, inefficient process of building a foundation so solid that when you finally take a big action, it is not a desperate gamble, but a natural expression of who you have become. These small, inefficient acts are the most powerful of all because they are the ones that build your identity. They teach your brain that you are a person who follows through, even when there's no visible reward. Now let's confront the feeling that nothing is happening. We talked about the bamboo tree. We talked about the sculptor. But what about the moments when you are in the chrysalis? Think of a caterpillar. It eats and eats, growing larger and larger, a seemingly linear progression of growth. But then it stops. It forms a chrysalis. To the outside world, it looks like it has quit. It has retreated from the world. But what is happening inside? A profound and violent transformation is taking place. The caterpillar literally digests itself. Its body breaks down into a nutrient-rich soup, and then its cells, guided by its DNA, begin to reorganize themselves into a completely new creature. The visible stagnation of the chrysalis is not a period of rest or failure. It is the most intense transformative stage of all. You are not failing when you feel like nothing is happening. You are in the chrysalis. The internal work, the rewiring of your brain, the dissolving of your old identity is all taking place. The feeling of being stuck is a natural signal that you are on the brink of a new form. It is a sign that the masterpiece is about to be revealed. This is a crucial reframe. Your feelings of frustration are not an indictment of your efforts, but a confirmation of your progress. Another reason we get discouraged is something I call the power of the gap. There will always be a gap between who you are and who you want to be, and the bigger your dreams, the bigger that gap will feel. We often make the mistake of viewing this gap as a source of shame or failure. We look at the distance and feel overwhelmed. But what if we saw the gap differently? What if the gap wasn't a source of failure, but a source of power? The gap is not a chasm, it's a blueprint. It's a clear map showing you where to place your next tiny action. The person you want to be is a musician who practices every day. The gap is the distance between you and that reality. So what's the smallest action you can take to close that gap? You record a 10-second audio clip. The gap is not a judgment, it's a guide. It tells you exactly what to do next. When you start seeing the gap as a guide and not a judgment, you stop feeling overwhelmed and start feeling empowered. The gap is your friend. And finally, let's talk about what happens when the breakthrough arrives. And most people assume the breakthrough is the finish line. They think once they hit that moment of success, the struggle is over. But that's not true. The breakthrough is never the end. It is a new beginning. Consider the mountain climber. For months, they train for a single peak. They endure grueling hikes, sore muscles, and bad weather. They feel the illusion of stagnation. But then, one day, they stand on the summit. They have their breakthrough. But what do they find when they look out from the top? They see 100 other, bigger mountains they could climb. They realize the purpose of the climb was not to stand on the peak. The purpose was to transform themselves into the kind of person who can climb a mountain. The purpose was the journey itself. The breakthrough is not the destination. It's the moment you realize that the person you've become on the journey is the true prize. It's the moment the journey becomes effortless. You are no longer just trying to be a runner, you are a runner. The habit is no longer a struggle, it is who you are. The breakthrough is when the old identity is finally shed and the new one takes flight. The journey of the 1 degree shift is not a path to a single moment of victory, it is a path to a life of continuous, inevitable transformation. So, don't wait for the big leap. Embrace the tiny, sacredly inefficient actions that build your new identity. Don't be discouraged by the feeling of stagnation. Know that it's a sign that your biggest transformation is happening below the surface. Use the gap not as a source of shame, but as a roadmap for your next small step. And when the breakthrough arrives, don't stop. Just look around for your next mountain. The person you are becoming is waiting for you.